Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Old Man Rambles. So, this past weekend, um, my wife and I took a trip down to Provincetown. Um, my wife's nephew has an annual conference on the East Coast every year. Him and his wife rent a house. Then they have their 3-year-old daughter, and the family kind of rotates in and out, to visit them while they're here on the East Coast instead of out in California where they live. It's a rare chance to see them. So we went down for the weekend, and they'd been before. They'd been to P-Town before. I'd never been before. I'd never been. My wife had never been. And they kept talking about something called the tea dance that they wanted us to go to. Um, so it was myself, my wife's nephew, and his wife and their 3-year-old. Um, my wife's sister and husband, our nephew's parents, they came. My wife's older brother and his wife came, and one of their sons and his wife came. So there was 4 people of the niece and nephew generation, and 6 of our generation. So the 4 kids wanted to go. Kids, they're in their 30s and 40s. 4 kids wanted to go to the tea dance, and of the grown-ups, so the old people, myself and my brother-in-law are the only ones who went, of the adults. um, the nieces and nephews couldn't figure out why they called it a tea dance, and I said maybe because it's at tea time. It's like a 3-hour rave in the early to mid afternoon, it's really only open for 3 hours. Like, they shut it down hard at the 3, and they told us, like, yeah, the place clears out in 5 minutes. They're really good. My nephew said they're really good at clearing it out. So we went there, and it's this very large open deck that overlooks the bay. It's a gorgeous view. There was a bar at the entrance manned by 3 bartenders. We got drinks pretty quickly, and then out on the deck there were, under these little blue umbrellas, there was an individual bar, like 5 other bars out on the deck. Very, very efficient. No long lines for getting drinks. It's like they'd done this before. They were very efficient at it. And off to the left of the deck, there was an enclosed dance floor room with thundering techno music coming out of it. We stood out on the deck for a while. I kept myself to 2 drinks because I didn't want to stagger home too drunk. I limited myself to 2. 2 cocktails. We stood around and watched. I was wearing my D&D Hawaiian shirt. I was very popular. I actually had a young woman, maybe late 20s or so, tap me on the shoulder after this left. It's like, hey, I love your shirt. Where'd you get it? It's like, oh, I bought it online. We had like a 4-minute conversation about Dungeons and Dragons. It was actually a lot of fun. I mean, the 6 of us just stood around chatting for the most part. When we would occasionally get comments, it was interacting with people in the crowd. Me not very much being who I am, aside from that one conversation, and accepting the compliments of my nerdy yet outlandish attire. And at one point, my nephew's wife wanted to hit the dance floor, which is kind of what this is all leading to. Anyway, so we followed the kids. My brother-in-law and I followed the kids into the dance floor. It was packed wall to wall. Like, even the dance floor was sunken by like about half a foot, and there was a standing area on the dance floor. And even the standing area around the dance floor was packed to this thunderous techno music. I am not a fan of techno music. I have one techno song in my music collection, and that's all I have. I was not familiar with any of the music. It was so loud. I could feel the loose parts of my shirt like vibrating. I could feel my sternum, pounding to the beat. It was so loud I could feel my lungs compressing, making it hard to breathe. Not just, the fact that it was jam-packed full of people. So overly loud, not my music. And an introvert in a tightly packed space with a couple hundred or more people. It's like, so you can imagine. But there's a part of me that remembers. I remember just letting the music take me away and losing myself in the crowd. And the most important thing was just pound out the rhythm on the floor with my feet, to just dance myself to exhaustion. And as long as the music kept going, I would keep going until my lungs burned, until my knees wobbled, and I kept on going, and I would not stop until the music stopped. And in that moment, I remembered that feeling. I remembered what it felt like. And it can be cruel to remember what it was like to be young when you're old. Yeah, that kind of hurt. I admit it. And I also wonder how many drinks it would have taken me to get on that dance floor myself. To forget that I was old and to go out there like I used to do. My money's on 3 drinks.